I went on a business trip. The rain streaked the airplane window like tears on a dirty pane, blurring the neat geometric patches of farmland below into a messy watercolor. It was a Tuesday, a routine trip to finalize a logistics contract in Frankfurt. David kissed me at the door, his lips soft and familiar, the scent of his morning coffee on his breath. "Drive safe," he murmured into my hair. "Miss you already." I remember smiling, feeling that warm, compacted glow of being loved, of having a home to return to. I patted Charlie, our geriatric Labrador, on his graying head. "Take care of him, boy." David waved from the porch until my car turned the corner. The picture of domestic bliss, framed by the white pillars of our Georgian-style house on Maple Drive. A postcard I had foolishly believed was real. The work was intense, the German partners thorough to the point of exhaustion. My hotel room was a study in bland efficiency. Beige walls, a chrome desk, a bed so large it felt accusatory in its emptiness. I called David every night. He was always home. The background noise was consistent. The gentle hum of the dishwasher, the faint yap of a dog from the TV, sometimes the clink of a glass as he poured himself a whiskey. We talked about mundane things. The leaky faucet in the guest bathroom, Charlie's new aversion to his favorite brand of treats, the neighbor's obnoxiously pink azaleas. His voice was a warm blanket, wrapping around the cold, impersonal space of my room. "Can't wait to have you back," he'd say, and I'd curl up on the sterile sheets, believing him. On the third evening, my phone buzzed just as I was about to order overpriced room service. The screen showed Henderson, Eleanor, our neighbor from across the street. A sweet, slightly nosy widow in her 70s, with a formidable collection of garden gnomes. "Eleanor? Hi," I answered, tucking the phone between my shoulder and ear as I fumbled with the hotel menu. "Oh, Mia, dear, I'm so glad I caught you." Her voice was its usual fluttery cadence. "I just saw your car pull in and all the lights go on. I was going to pop over with that zucchini bread I promised David, but I thought I'd check first. Are you back already? Everything all right with your trip?" The menu slipped from my fingers, fluttering to the carpet with a soft whoomp. A cold, sharp sensation, like a sliver of glass, entered my bloodstream and began to travel, slowly, meticulously, towards my heart. "My car?" My own voice sounded thin, far away. "Yes, dear, your blue Volvo, in the driveway, not 20 minutes ago." The hotel room seemed to tilt. The beige walls closed in. The meticulously made bed now looked like a staged crime scene. I gripped the edge of the desk, my knuckles bleaching white. "Eleanor," I said, forcing a lightness into my tone that felt like lifting a concrete block. "You must be seeing things. Or maybe it's the Petersons' new car. It's definitely not me. I'm still in Frankfurt. My flight isn't until Friday." A pause. A long, static-filled pause where I could hear the cogs turning in her kind, suspicious mind. Oh my. Well, my eyes aren't what they used to be, I suppose. And it is getting dark. Forgive me, dear, for bothering you. You just have a safe trip home. "I will, Eleanor. Thanks for calling." I hung up. The silence in the room was deafening, a physical pressure against my eardrums. "You must be seeing things." I had parroted the line, played the part of the slightly amused, busy wife. But inside, a seismic shift had occurred. The bedrock of my life, the very ground I had built my adulthood upon, gave a sickening lurch. I didn't call David. Instinct, cold and primal, told me not to. Instead, I sat in the darkening room and dissected the last year with the clinical precision I usually reserved for quarterly reports. The business trips. There had been so many. A cluster of dots around our home in Connecticut in the morning. Then, around 2 p.m., a steady line traveling south down the I-95 corridor. It stopped in a suburban area just outside Baltimore. It lingered there for 4 hours. At the time Eleanor called, the dot was moving again, northbound, back towards our home. He hadn't been home. He'd been in Maryland. While someone was in my house, in my car. The glass shard in my veins reached my heart and splintered. I felt it shatter, sending 1,000 icy fragments into every limb. I bent over, a dry, heaving gasp escaping my lips. The betrayal was not a single act. It was a structure, an architecture of lies built over months, maybe years, right under the roof I paid for. The next 24 hours were an out-of-body experience. I moved through meetings in Frankfurt like a highly sophisticated automaton, smiling, nodding, signing papers. My mind was a war room back in that hotel. I accessed everything I could remotely. Our phone bill, detailing calls and texts to a number with a Maryland area code, repeated, lengthy, occurring most frequently during my travels. Our credit card statements showed dinners at romantic, obscure restaurants in towns an hour away on nights I was known to be gone. A receipt for 2 tickets to a Broadway show for a date I'd spent in Chicago. A payment to a local locksmith from 3 months ago, rekeying and additional copies. He hadn't just been unfaithful. He had been building a parallel life, using my absences as its foundation, funded by our shared account. The sheer industry of it took my breath away. My flight home on Friday was a torture chamber of recycled air and forced normalcy. I had rehearsed my lines. I would be tired, jet-lagged. I would want a bath and quiet. I would not confront him. Not yet. I needed evidence, not just for my shattered heart, but for the battle I knew was coming. The battle for the house, the assets, the life I had worked for. David met me at baggage claim. He looked the same, handsome in his casual weekend wear, a smile that had once made my knees weak. He hugged me, kissed my temple. God, I missed you. His embrace felt like a prison. Missed you too, I mumbled into his shoulder, the lie ash in my mouth. The car ride home was filled with his chatter, updates on Charlie, a funny story about the mailman, a new recipe he wanted to try. I watched the familiar landmarks pass, seeing them for the first time as scenery in a play where I was the unwitting fool. Our house, when we pulled up, looked like a museum diorama of a happy home. The lawn was mowed. The azaleas were, indeed, obnoxiously pink. My blue Volvo sat innocently in the driveway. Inside, everything was spotless. Too spotless. The air smelled of lemon polish and something else. A faint, sweet perfume that wasn't mine. Charlie lumbered over, wagging his tail, and I buried my face in his fur, seeking an anchor in his uncomplicated love. "I'll get your bags, sweetheart," David said, heading back outside. I walked into the living room. The pillows on the gray sofa were perfectly plumped. A book I'd been reading was still on the side table, my bookmark in place. It was all a set. I moved to the large mirror above the fireplace. My reflection looked pale, haunted, a stranger wearing my skin. And then I saw it. On the silver frame, at the bottom right corner, a faint, smudged fingerprint, smaller than David's, smaller than mine, with a sheen of something glittery, eyeshadow or highlighter. I didn't sleep that night. While David snored softly beside me, I lay rigid, mapping the secret life of my own home. The next morning, under the guise of a lazy Saturday, I began my own investigation. David went to the gym, a new, longer routine he'd started 6 months ago. The moment his car disappeared, I was moving. I started with my car. I sat in the driver's seat, adjusting the mirror. It was already in a position too low for me. The seat was slightly closer to the wheel. In the glove compartment, tucked under the manual, was a silver hair tie, the kind for thick, curly hair. My hair is fine and straight. In the footwell of the passenger side, I found a crumpled receipt from a gas station in Elkton, Maryland, dated 2 days ago. I went to the basement man cave. It was neater than usual. The gaming console was off, the controllers lined up. I opened the mini fridge. Inside, next to his craft beers, were 2 bottles of hard seltzer in flavors I detest: watermelon and black cherry. On the shelf below, tucked behind a toolbox, was a small leopard print overnight bag, empty. The final piece was the guest bedroom, the one we never used. The bed was perfectly made. I pulled back the duvet. There, on the white sheets, were 2 long auburn hairs. I stood there, holding those strands, feeling the last vestige of hope dissolve. It wasn't just an affair. It was an infiltration. She had been here, in my bed, driving my car, using my things, with the full complicity of the man I called my husband. The confrontation, when it came, was not a tearful, dramatic scene. It was a cold, quiet transaction. I waited until Sunday evening. We were in the kitchen. He was chopping vegetables for a salad, humming a tune I didn't recognize. "David?" "Who is she?" The knife stilled. The humming stopped. He didn't turn around. The silence stretched, taut and deadly. "What are you talking about, Mia?" His voice was carefully controlled. "The woman with the auburn hair. The one who drinks watermelon seltzer. The one who drove my car to our house on Tuesday while you were in Baltimore with her. The one whose perfume is in our living room and whose hair is in our guest bed." He turned slowly. His face had drained of color, but his eyes were hard, defensive. "You're being paranoid. Jet lag and stress. Eleanor Henderson is a senile old woman who—" "I saw the location data, David. I saw the phone records, the credit card bills, the receipt in my car, the bag in the basement." My voice was eerily calm, a flat lake over a depth of raging cold. "I'm not asking for an explanation. I'm telling you, I know." The mask crumbled. Defensiveness twisted into anger, a quick, ugly flash. "So you spied on me? You went through my things?" "My car, our accounts, our home," I said, each word a chip of ice. "How long?" He looked away, running a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration I'd once found endearing. "A year, maybe a little more." "A year." The word hung in the air. "And the trips? All of them?" A curt nod. "It was just something to do. You were always gone. She understands me." The banality of the cliché was more insulting than the act itself. She understands me, as if I, the woman who had built a career to secure our future, who had loved him for a decade, was somehow deficient. "I want you to leave," I said. "Tonight. Go to a hotel. Go to Maryland. I don't care." "This is my house, too," he snapped. "And we will let the lawyers figure that out," I replied, pulling out my phone. "But right now, I am documenting your infidelity, your financial deception, and your guests' unauthorized use of my property. If you are not gone in 1 hour, my next call will be to the police to report an intruder has been using my vehicle. The locksmith receipt is dated after the last time I lost a key. I never authorized new keys. Who do you think they'll believe?" He stared at me, seeing a stranger. The calm, accommodating Mia was gone. In her place was someone he'd never met, a woman forged in the fire of his betrayal, hard and sharp and utterly devoid of mercy. He left. He packed a suitcase, his movements jerky with suppressed rage. He tried once more to talk, to plead, to blame. "You were never here, Mia. You left me alone." I simply pointed to the door. "Goodbye, David." The silence after he left was immense. It wasn't peaceful. It was charged, like the air after a lightning strike. I walked through the empty rooms, the scene of the crime. I packed all his remaining things into boxes and left them in the garage. I changed the locks. I hired a forensic cleaner to scrub the guest bedroom, the basement, my car. The divorce was, as predicted, brutal. David, backed by his mother and a surprisingly aggressive lawyer, fought for half of everything. My lawyer, a steely woman named Regina who wore power suits like armor, was a pit bull. We presented the evidence. the timeline of his affair coinciding perfectly with my travels, the financial drain, the psychological manipulation. We argued dissipation of marital assets. We played hardball. In the end, I kept the house. He got a smaller share of our investments, a punitive adjustment for his misconduct. The judge, a weary-looking woman, had looked at David with clear disdain when the details of the Maryland escapades were laid bare. Using your wife's professional commitments to facilitate a secret life is a profound breach of trust, Mr. Carter, she'd said. It was the closest I got to public vindication. It's been 8 months now. The house on Maple Drive is mine alone. Charlie sleeps at the foot of my bed. The man cave is now a home gym. The guest bedroom is a painting studio filled with light and canvases splashed with colors I'm only now learning to use. Bold reds, defiant yellows, deep, healing blues. I still travel for work. The logistics world doesn't stop. But now, before I leave, I have a security system installed with cameras that ping my phone. I tell my trusted neighbor Eleanor, now my ally and confidant, to watch the house. I take peace of mind, not trust, as my traveling companion. Tonight, I'm packing again, a shorter trip, just to Boston. I fold a blouse, place it in my carry-on. My phone rings. It's Eleanor. All set for tomorrow, dear? Yes, all set. Don't you worry about a thing. I've got my binoculars and my list of all suspicious vehicles. She says it with a chuckle, but we both know she's dead serious. Thank you, Eleanor, for everything. Pish posh, you just have a good trip. I hang up and finish packing. The ghost of that first call, the one that shattered my world, is still here. But it's a quiet ghost now, a reminder, not a threat. I know the truth now. I know that the foundation of my life must be myself, my own strength. I learned it the hard way in the most brutal classroom imaginable. I zip up my bag and look around my bedroom. My space, my rules, my peace. The road ahead is mine alone to navigate, and for the first time in a long time, the destination is entirely my own. I go on a business trip. The road ahead is clear, the taillights of other cars painting streaks of red on the wet asphalt like fleeting, beautiful wounds. I turn up the music, something loud and rhythmic with a defiant bass line. The windshield wipers keep a steady, soothing beat. I am driving away from a house that is finally, truly a home, because it contains only what is real. I am driving towards a city, a hotel room, a meeting. But more importantly, I am driving towards a version of myself who no longer fears what might be waiting in the rearview mirror. The rain cleanses the glass, and for miles and miles, the only thing reflected back at me is my own clear, steady gaze.